today talking with Ken Salaz. Do I say your name right, by the way?
Every time you say it wrong.
Oh, okay. How do I say it right?
Salaz.
Today I'm talking with Ken Salaz, and he wrote the book Landscapes in Oil through Monticelli Press. He's actually the one who kind of introduced me into Monticelli and Victoria over there, and which really gave me the opportunity to write my book. So without further ado, Ken Salaz.
Salaz, good job.
There he is.
Good job.
So talk to me. What prompted you to do a book?
Well, it was funny because I was writing in my notes over and over trying to put into a book form for my own self and for workshops I do. Like, what is drawing? What are the elements of drawing, value, color, and the elements of the landscape? So I got this whole thing sketched out, and it's kind of one of those things where like the universe hears you. And I had it like a book laid out, and then I get an email and a call from Victoria at Monticelli out of the blue saying, "Hey, we love your paintings. Will you do a book?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me tell you my idea." And I spent 10 minutes on the phone. She's like, "Sounds like you already have it written."
That's awesome.
I was like, "Yeah." And she says, "Okay, let's do it." And she was referred to me by Rob Zeller.
So she had heard Rob had done his book before
Rob
yours.
done his book, yeah.
She was kind of like doing a lot of art books. She runs Monticelli. She's like the editor there.
Yeah.
And she had done I think Mario's book, right?
Yep.
How to watercolor painting.
Watercolor painting, great book.
And then there was another one, the anatomy guy who did the book.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it seemed like Monticelli Press, or Monticelli Studio, which is under Monticelli Press, had this library they were growing of art books. And it seems like at the time they were like, hey, we need a landscape guy. And then they were looking around, or person, and then they found you. And then, so tell me about the experience when you did it.
It was like putting your life on hold for 6 months. What I would do is I'd work. I'm a magician and mentalist also, right? So I'd be doing all these shows and working, and then at night at 9:30 when our son would go to bed, I'd set up on the kitchen table and I'd write until like 3 in the morning, and then go to bed and wake up, do the next thing. And that was for 6 months worth, 5 months. So it was exciting though. The best thing, I didn't know this was going to happen, Todd. I'm not sure if you did on your book, but in writing the book, you like clarify everything in your brain. So when you go back to paint, you just clarified so much in your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a big bonus, you know.
Yeah, for me, it's great because you kind of introduced me to Victoria, and then I got the opportunity to write mine. And one of the biggest questions I get all the time is, why did you write the book? And for me, I wrote the book I wish I had. Because, I'm sure you did too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's almost like we took all our notes of teachers and said, how can I make the book that my students could just pick up or something, and then it would help them.
Yeah.
And help our teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish actually that's exactly what I wrote in the foreword. I was like, this is the book I wish I would have found when I was 15.
Oh, maybe I stole it from you then.
You did. You stole it from me. No, you didn't. We probably just had the same thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But looking at your book, I thought, damn, if I would have had this book at 15, it would have changed everything for me too. Because the way you lay everything out, it's so freaking clear. And with still life, you have the controlled light, so you could really explain what's happening. You're not worried about atmospheric conditions, and how you go through color is so clean that I was like, I wish I would have run into this, when I was 15.
Well, I do think we're at a good time where, obviously, one of the quotes I put in my book is that the Newton quote, I stand on the shoulders of all the giants that have come before me, and therefore I can see further. So for me, when I did the book, I thought, let's pull in all the kind of great things about Water Street GCA when we were there, and then all the other little things that I pulled, the nuggets, and put them all together into something comprehensive. Someone like Ted Seth Jacobs had written books, which were good, but I think there's something about the way that Monticelli was doing the books. Victoria had worked with, I think, Julia Aristides a couple times, and when I looked at her books, I was like, that's on my list of the best books.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that the word and the image and the illustration all go together, and that's where you reached out to me. I think was you knew that I could do illustrations, and you said, "Hey, can you help me out with this?"
My book would not have been done without you, Todd.
Yeah, well, it just
I'd still be writing it.
Yeah, well, I think illustrations really help because they make something simple, and then you can kind of look at it and go like, "I think I got it. Oh, this is it." So like you were like you do in your demos, you're kind of talking about, brushstrokes following a form or something like that. And you could just show an arrow of how that is on a painting. So.
Exactly. The other thing about writing the book, which was really helpful, was even when I was at GCA study with, there was Jake, Ted was there, Cammie was there.
Yeah.
All these, and Ted Minoff, and they all come in different hours and they're teaching you different things. But like to collect it all together and put it into a system, that's up to the student.
Yeah.
So we're talking about form, we're talking about light, and and they're all coming at different angles. And part of my digestion after having graduated was to I need to make this into an ordered system.
Yeah.
Everything everyone said, because we did HRF also out there in the woods, and everything was said there is slightly different than.
Yeah.
So how do you order it? And doing the book makes you order it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's probably the number one thing that you get from your students, right? It's like, in what order am I doing this?
Yeah.
And did I go too fast? Or, what's the next step is always the questions I get. So as a teacher, I was always like, it's not so ordered. I think of it almost like a toolbox, like this is going to get you here. And there are a bunch of ways to think about it that can slow you down. And I know you're methodical too, so. And then putting it together in a book forces you to put it into an order.
Forces you to slow it down and put it in order. And when I first met Jake, I said, this is what's missing for me in painting, my instruction. This is what I need. I said, it's very much like chess. If you study chess, there's an opening, there's a middle game, and there's an end game. It's broken into 3 sections. And you know what you're doing here, and you're doing here, and what you're doing here. I said, no one's ever taught painting like that.
Yeah.
Where there's an opening, your block in.
Yep.
There's a middle where you put your terminator, your lights and darks, and then there's the end game. Really, it's in a way an end game where you're turning the form.
Definitely.
We should talk about that, the different stages.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. One of the things that really helped me, and kind of witnessing your teaching too, it's always nice to hear somebody almost like with the same echoes. So we have echoes of all the giants that have come before us. I think Jacob was a big influence on both of us too. For me, Max Ginsberg is another one.
Mm-hmm.
But the way in which you're talking about large masses and basically just taking each step and breaking it down. So one of the problems I think, and I'm sure you had this too because we were both in college around the same time, is that a lot of artists work in a very alla prima or go for it stage, and they make a mess quickly, and then they're trying to fix the mess. Where for us, we're trying to master each little step, and then move on to the next one. Not that you don't think about that last one, but you can move forward and feel pretty good.
If you get each stage accurate, and we should have a talk. This is something we really need to go into, I think, Todd. We need to talk about how working within a constructed form or a process like we're discussing now is actually an enhancer of creativity. Because the popular conception out there is that, if I learn a method and I follow these stages, it's going to crush my creativity, when it does not. It does not crush the creativity. If you listen to, let's do an analogy, you listen to Rachmaninoff on the piano, there's the keys, they're all in tune, the piano's tuned, it's all laid out, it's very structured, he's in the key of X, Y, Z, and it's all written. That's so structured, but the playing of it is like, so it's the same thing with painting. You have your structure, you have your value streams, but the application of it is like so creative.
Right, and I think that's some of, I don't want to name anyone, but I think we know what we're talking about. There's definitely some, yeah, right. There's not a person that we're talking about, but I think there's just a kind of curriculum that are set more in certain places. Again, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but of just almost like throwing all that stuff out and then just be like, learning how to paint is just painting a lot. And it's like, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's really, I think for us, we went back to the French Academy, and the Hudson River is Hudson River landscape painter is someone you look at a lot. And it's like going back and studying all that. French Academy seemed to be like building off of all the Italian masters before them and the Dutch, and then moving forward with it, and then all of a sudden it's almost like the 21st century came and they were like, just cut it all off and get rid of it all.
I went to Cooper Union. So, which is like,
I was trying not to
uber modern. I'll say Cooper Union. I went to Cooper Union, and it was difficult, and because there was no rules, there was nothing. You just kind of do what you did, and I basically just made mistakes on top of mistakes.
Right, and I think that's what I'm trying to say is like that in the the systems, the college systems, it gets a little difficult because they don't have a methodology in which you're teaching. They throw a lot of things in together, and then you're forced to kind of say like, okay, this teacher said don't use black, or this one said warm light, cool shadow, or there's a ton of dogmas that are learned. I do think that those little anecdotes like that do have their place if you know why or when you would see it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's just, I was told to, when I wanted to learn how to paint, to just paint a lot. And I was like, yeah, it's like, well, what a... I'm not going to show anything?
No, it's like saying to somebody, I want to be a concert pianist. They say, well, just get on the piano and just bang on the keys a whole bunch.
Yeah.
What? You're never going to play, some serious Chopin like that,
So back to the books, I think, your book kind of set my book up, and I think there are two things that are doing really well. I know yours is selling real well. Rob's is doing awesome too, and I'm amazed that, I am amazed anyone bought my book besides, my parents. But super cool that it's been received well. And I am doing another book. I don't know if that's a smart decision or not, but I signed up.
There goes 6 months of your life, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy. Just like you said, it's kind of like you need to have that time to put aside and not do anything else.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, writing that book, I think I was up till almost 2 o'clock every night. My wife would come down and be like, you always listen to music while you paint.
I can't sleep.
You're not listening to anything. It's like she'd come down and be creepy. I'd be like looking at a computer screen, just like in it.
Yeah.
And it was definitely intense. And yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I decided to sign on for a second one.
Yeah.
After being like, that's
You're brave.
crazy.
You're brave. But I think, actually talking to you though, we've spoken a lot about paints. You have so much knowledge in you, very down to the very minute things,
Yeah.
that I think another book is warranted because you got so much in the first one.
Yeah.
But now expanding on what you already know, I know there's like the kind of tip of the iceberg is in your first book, quite honestly, because I talked to you and I'm like, God, he knows that too,
Well, yeah, it's, for me, it's back to, I think, our thing at the beginning that we said, and that's just that there's just not books out there that I can, when a student comes to me and says, like, what's a landscape book? I can say your book, right? What's a still life book? Those are genre books, right? Well, when it comes to drawing, or, Rob has the figure book, which is great, but when it comes to, like, drawing or color or composition, it's like, I can tell you pieces of books that I like, but I don't know if there's, like, one. I mean, could you name one other landscape book that, like, you changed your life?
No.
Right, so you were trying to be the book that changed
I was trying to be the book that,
Yeah, and I think those are lofty goals, but I think it's what makes them genuine and makes them succeed. But I think there's just there's opportunity, not even for financial reasons, but to just educate. As educators, it helps us to go out and be like, look, you're taking my landscape workshop, read the book.
Yeah.
It's going to help you. It's not about selling a book.
No, it's streamlining those that are learning these techniques. It streamlines their learning curve. Because if you don't have, if I'm teaching, I'm using the language straight out of the book, and you haven't seen it, you're not. Then it's what is he talking about? Like the 7 fundamental aspects of drawing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it, and you can go straight to the page of the book. This one, okay. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, then it gets mixed in with all the other terminology.
Yeah, it ends up being a reference. You could just say like, you took my workshop, read the book, and go back and forth, and you'll probably get a lot more. And then obviously you want to do something more intense, like study full time or come up to the Hudson River Landscape School, and I think that's like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and
3 weeks.
Do that. By the way, I was there that first year. We must have. You were there.
I missed you by a year. Yeah, you were there the year that I think it flooded or something.
Yeah, well, Cammie and I were driving up all the time. I drove her up, but I had to come back on the weekends because I had to work. But I loved it. I mean, I did landscape painting out in California, and it was just a totally different approach. So this approach to kind of take and put it through all of, figure, portrait, landscape, still life, and then say like, well, let's slow down rather than make a mess all the time.
Yeah.
It really taught me kind of the patience and the meditative state that we kind of get into.
Meditative, that's where it's at. Yeah, especially, I mean, that's where, with the figure, because we both studied the figure, it's definitely very meditative, but for me, the landscape, that's where the meditation really went straight up, because all the things of the transcendentalists and everything about nature is so profound.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's so profound. You're sitting there and like it starts, the sun's doing something, the rain, and it's your heart is going, what the heck? You know, how can I capture this on 2 dimensions?
So talk about that. You know, you have the book. You also teach at the Hudson River. Do you do this every year, or is it something
that's the
like
Hudson
every
River
year?
Fellowship. Yeah, it's through GCA. I'm there. I'm a senior fellow, which doesn't mean I'm old. It just means I've been there a lot, and I teach
Over
there.
65.
Over 65. No, so we go there. You know, I used to stay for the 3 weeks. Now I can't. 2 kids, so I go there for periods of days. You know, blocks of days, and the people that have the fellowship come out and I paint with them, and I give them critiques and help them out and to move their paintings forward. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's the.
So when you go up there, what are some of the things you do? Are you're demoing, right? You're critiquing, you're painting.
It's you know what I make it very. Listen, I'm going to go paint this area. Jake is there too, you know. But listen, I'm going to go paint this. If you want to learn, sit behind me and paint what I paint.
Yeah, and that's what you did, right?
That's
you sat
exactly.
behind Jacob, Travis, and Ted.
And Ted. So I had 3 weeks up there, and I sat 1 week behind Jake, 1 week behind Ted, and 1 week behind Travis.
Yeah.
And they all have different approaches.
Yeah.
And but I learned, and then I went home and synthesized it myself, what worked best for me.
I remember at the time, Kimmy and I were kind of running the guild in Carroll Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember I came in one day and your paintings were like up on the wall and you just got back from there and I was like, whoa, like the last time I saw you, you were doing figure and I didn't see any landscape at all. And then all of a sudden I come back and I'm like, this dude is a master landscape painter. I remember vividly there was like a shot of you did like of an open like long field over like miles. And I was like, man, that's gorgeous. And I remember just sticking my face in there going like, man, this makes me want to go up and paint again. So that's awesome. And then from there it's like you started to do it more. I think you went back and you were
Went back several years. Yeah,
and then I saw your work and was like, man, Ken's killing it. And then you and I both show at Ray's, so
we're both at Ray's Gallery.
able to see your work up close and personal too. So kudos, man. I mean, did you start out wanting to be a landscape painter? Or?
No, I was strictly figurative. I was really passionate about it, and I will go back to doing figures. You know, I think
you sound like me.
I know I sound exactly like you because you know, actually I used to I used to steal your color studies. Not literally. I didn't take them out of your things.
What? That's where they are.
That's where they went. No, I looked at them and like, okay, what's he doing? And then I would like copy your color studies of the figure we both, because we were in a couple classes.
Oh yeah,
together.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so I would like, because you how you broke the color down really, you know, I was like, oh man.
I love that part of it.
I know you really love it. And I thought, and you worked with Ralph Lauren for so long, so your eyes were so much more sensitive than mine were at the time. You saw changes I didn't see, so I would just cheat. I guess I didn't steal it. I cheated.
Used all my tubes too, right?
And
my brushes.
And your brushes.
You switch paintings.
Yeah. So I will go back to the figure, but to answer your question, the landscape, I didn't go in doing landscape painting. I wanted to get the fellowship because I love being in nature. I mean, think about it, 3 weeks out in nature and just hanging out.
Sounds like a good vacation.
It was a great vacation. It was a great vacation, and boy, it just blew up.
Yeah.
I found that there weren't as many restrictions in landscape as there are in figures. You can use a lot more textures. You can use brushes that are all busted, and it becomes, for me, the creativity got much more exciting. Where I can you know.
Well, and then you became like kind of known at Ray's. I know Howard was always pushing forward to do the sunsets, right?
Oh yeah.
He's always like, you're the drink painter, Todd.
Yeah,
Ken's the sunset painter.
Yeah,
but
I remember when that happened. You
know
what's funny about that is that I was talking to Cammie. I was like, man, my skies really are terrible. I'm gonna concentrate on skies for the next 6 months. I told her. She's like, great. And I get a call from Howard like an hour later saying, hey, we're at the Newport. We sold all your sunsets. Can you send some more? I was like,
that's awesome.
I was like, you sold them all? He's like, yeah, all 5 of them just walked out the door. Do you have any more in the studio?
That's too funny.
And I hung up and I said, Cammie, they want more sunsets.
Guess they're not as bad as I thought.
So they're not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, no, he did the same with me, I think. At the time, I had been in another gallery.
How did you get to the drink paintings? That's the question.
Well, that's the thing. I was in another gallery and was just trying to figure out what you want to paint. Didn't really know, so I was just kind of painting different things. And then I ended up painting drinks. I did one drink, which was my favorite drink, called Sidecar. And I did it because I thought, it's great to kind of paint things that you love, but I also want to play with color, the same kind of way that you were doing the sunsets. And I thought, I don't want to do the same old fruit in a bowl or like just a pear sliced or something that everyone's doing. How can I be a little more creative with it? And that's when I got into the cocktail paintings, just thinking there's always a garnish for like cocktails. And I remember I did the painting, gave it to him that first week, and he sold it. And I thought, this feels great. I sold one painting in the last gallery over 2 years. So I want to sell more paintings. And I said, I'm going to do more drink paintings. And, since then, it's just like, you can't get them to him fast enough. I'm sure just like your sunsets. And, it's actually a part of the repertoire of what I do. Thankfully, I actually like doing it. Mm-hmm. The worst is when you do something and you sell them and then people want more of it and you don't like it.
Yes.
Or you just tried it once.
Yeah.
So the drinks came around that funny way.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's cool about them is actually not just that you don't have just the drink. You have all these little knickknacks like the little Mexican skull. You have all these other cool things to give it a context.
Yeah, I always, it's funny because when writing my book, I always needed to come up with like why I'm doing what I do, and I thought like, man, I'm just a narrative guy, and I think that taking those little elements gave me the ability to tell a story. So again, it wasn't just a fruit; it was like, what's the fruit in context that could kind of give some of the backstory. So
I love it, but speaking of narrative, that's one of the things I really I love about your still lifes. And some of your still lifes, the narratives are so cool. And I didn't recognize it at first. What attracted me to some of your paintings, other than that I knew you as a friend, but I looked and I was like, wow, what the heck's that? Why does he put that in there? And then I started like piecing it together in my mind, what's actually happening in the still life. And there's this whole story going on that I don't have to force. Sometimes I look at still lifes, I have to like force. They're like, okay, what are they trying to say, And I never like doing that with any painting. I never like asking myself, what are they trying to say? I want to just like, oh, wait a minute, what's that? Yeah, what's that for? And I start investigating.
No, I like to get like little nuggets. So it's like you get the first impression, and that's beautiful, and then you can piece little other things together and make more sense of it. Well, look, we can talk all day, man.
Okay, we will.
And we will, yeah. So hopefully this will be an installment of video talks that we do. Mm-hmm. But anything you want to add about the book that
Yes, one thing, and that is there's techniques I'm teaching, there's the application I'm teaching, but what I was really excited about in this book is I get to put in there the poetry and philosophy as to why we paint, or why I paint. But I'm sure if people read it, you're going to read words that I've written that are like, oh man, yes, this is so inspiring, this is why I paint. I got to put that in the book, which I didn't find in other books. Yeah. So I really feel I got a full package in it.
Awesome, and your writing's beautiful. I remember reading it going like, did Ken write this?
Oh,
did he get like a ghostwriter or something?
You and Howard called me and said, you didn't write that, did you?
I think Howard and I had a conversation. I'm like, I don't know if he wrote this, because it's really good.
Yeah,
so.
I wrote it. I actually wrote it. I was inspired.
That's the good part about Cooper Union, right? He came out like a scholar.
I had to write everything up. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for taking the time. Absolutely. And Ken's book is available on Amazon, same as mine. Through Monticelli Press, and pick them both up. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.